See if we can get this broadcast going. It's a little after 1 minute after the hour, and it says we're live, so we'll see. We'll see if that's the case, and I'm going to go ahead and go over to my app here and see if I can pull it up and verify that we're live. I'm getting a no internet on my laptop, so laptop's not playing ball. So we'll see what happens here. Never a dull moment when you're doing live streams with YouTube and playing around with Google. Excuse me. Coming up on 2 minutes after the hour, and I'm still trying to load it in on my iPad here. So far, no luck. You're offline, not connected to the internet. I might not be able to monitor the chat. I don't know if I'm live or not live. This is kind of bizarre, folks. Kind of bizarre. I cannot connect on the wireless here. I'm hardwired as far as this broadcast goes, but for some reason the computer is acting like it's not connected to the internet. It sure should be. And it says we're live on the Video Pro. I hate to fly blind here, folks. Not sure what I can... Oh, there. Now it's showing up. Very strange. I think I have to get a new router. It's not connected to the internet. Okay, good. Now I've got a connection. I hear the audio's okay. Very strange. I don't know if now see, the funny thing is the laptop is hooked in with a Cat5 cable, and it's getting a no internet connection warning. The iPad was connected via Wi-Fi. I can understand Wi-Fi being dicey, but not the hardwired connection, considering that's what we're using to stream. Let me know, how does the stream look? How does the stream quality look? Because strange things are happening here in Maryland. Let's see, my tutor Pelagos, LHC runs my hand plus minus 1.5 seconds a day. If I put off my watch at night, 8 hours, crown up, I get an average of 0 seconds deviation from automatic watch. Well, that's good. I would sell it then. That's a tutor that's real accurate. I'd sell that while you can. Get out of the tutors, folks. Our Wags is in the house. Happy Sunday to you, the Wrench Gang, and all the listeners to the broadcast. There you go. And got a couple members of the Wrench Gang in the house. And we've got Mr. Nobody from Atlanta. Well, he's in here, so he's definitely a somebody. Steven's in the house. He says we're live. And Rick says hello from Leeds, UK, and we are live. What router do you use? Yeah, it's an old Apple router. It's due to be replaced. But everything I have is generally hooked in, everything that means something, my main workstation, the Video Pro, they're all hooked in with a Cat5 cable, not with the wireless. I never trust wireless. The only thing that's connected with wireless right now that I'm using is the iPad. But that doesn't explain why the laptop would be on the fritz, because it's connected via Cat5 cable. And the Wi-Fi is turned off on it and always is. So that is all very strange. I'm actually going to restart the laptop just for grins here to see what's going on there. So let's get into the subject matter, folks. We I had a long discussion with Steve, and let's look at the GMT Stunner for a moment. I had a long discussion with Steve about the issue with Grand Seiko bracelets. And here's the thing, it's not just Grand Seiko that has bracelet issues, believe it or not. Rolex has a lot of bracelet issues. And people are going to be like, oh, how can you say that? Rolex has fantastic bracelets. They're amazing, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because everything we say on this channel, we got a reason for. And it's not just hyperbole. And by the way, talking about the Apple Watch, look at how trim that link bracelet is. Look at the clasp side of the bracelet. Look how trim that is. I'm going to put it on wrist here. Taking off my fantastic titanium diver stunner that is basically on my wrist 24/7 this time of the year in the hot weather. So, look here. Look how trim this is. See how that clasp works? And I put a link in the description to a review of this bracelet. Not my review, but somebody else's review. But see when that's on wrist, you see how trim that puppy is? See how flush to the wrist it is? I say that Rolex and Grand Seiko can learn something from that. Look at that puppy. Okay? And I'm generally not a fan of square watches, but ignore the fact that this is square. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be square. It could be round. But this design, it really is super comfortable on the wrist. I wore this for about 2 years. It's very comfortable on the wrist. You would think maybe it wouldn't be because it doesn't have a lot of flexibility in this bracelet. There's a little bit as far as side to side. Obviously there is this way, right, to go around the wrist. But the watch is relatively lightweight and it's only 10 millimeters thick. And so it really is comfortable on the wrist. Just super comfortable on the wrist. Which, as you know, put in the password here on my laptop, get it finished booting up. As you know, I'm a big fan of comfortable on wrist. I buy my watches to wear and use. Okay, so I think we can make a legitimate argument that Rolex and Grand Seiko can both learn a little something from this link bracelet. Now, not to mention the fact that it is a piece of cake to resize this, to remove a link and add a link. You could literally do it with your fingernail. Just take a link out, put a link in, piece of cake, no tools necessary, and you can resize it fairly precisely because the links as you go up have different thicknesses, and you can remove the one that you want. You can kind of play around with what you remove and what you don't to get it just about right, and this really fits me fine. So that's... And also, here's another thing that Rolex can learn from Apple and Grand Seiko to some extent, but more Rolex. This is all brushed. All brushed. Okay? Think about a Rolex Yachtmaster, which otherwise has a pretty fantastic bracelet. We'll get to the clasp in a minute, but it has those polished center links that show every single freaking scratch. And I'm not a scratch, you know, I don't like all of a sudden run and hide in a corner when my watch gets a scratch on it, right? But at the same time, why would you tempt fate? Why would you have high polished center links just asking for those scratches? That's where Rolex can learn something from this watch, where it has the small high polished links in there to give it a little bit of bling. The rest of it is kind of brushed. Okay, and the watch does have some high polished area and some brushed areas. And by the way, the Date 8, the Rolex Date 8, the 18238 that I had for 19 years, it had mainly brushed on the case. Some of it was polished, but it had a lot of brush on different parts of the case. That the newer ones are mostly high polished. And again, a mistake going that route. I think the 18238 is a better looking watch than the current Date 8 and much more forgiving about showing any kind of scratches. So I think all of these folks can learn, they can learn from each other, and they can certainly learn from Apple. Apple has all the king's horses and all the king's men, all the money in the world, and they came up with a hell of a design. Love them, hate them, whatever, they came up with a hell of a design with this link bracelet. And by the way, I would absolutely skip the aluminum Apple Watch. Go straight to the stainless steel if you have any inkling at all to get one. Let me put this diver back on with this fantastic bracelet that everybody who's never worn one says is a terrible bracelet, but this is fantastic. But we'll get to that too. We're going to talk about the downsides, the pluses, the minuses. Let's see here. 4x4. Okay. Like the red shirt, Craig, what does it say? It says something, Stony Brook Golf Club. Stony Brook Golf Club. That's what it says on it. Okay. Let's see here. Eero seems good. Yeah, I think those are good routers. I think the Google ones are pretty good too. Does the wrench indicate that the user is a tool? The wrench indicates that they'll hit trolls over the head with their wrench, so be careful. 18K, there you go. Love GS, but my wife won't let me spend the money. Okay, good, smart wife. Keep that money invested. Let's see, Eric in the house. Hey, Craig, been off for a few weeks, but good to be back. Well, good to have you back. And I'm doing great. I'm sure everybody else is doing great. They're all fantastic folks that hang around here. Let's see here. You'd never believe it, but I saw a 116613 LB two-tone Submariner Bluesy at an AD, and I bought it on the shelf for 1 hour, apparently, before I took it. Oh, okay. Hey, send me a photo. Email me a photo. We'll show it here on the show. My name at gmail.com, CraigShipp@gmail.com. Let's see here. Apple Watch depreciates too much when they come out with a new one, making the old obsolete. Hey, Mr. Nobody, if you have to worry about your watch depreciating, you shouldn't buy that watch. Just a heads up. If that's a concern of yours, is the depreciation on your watch, it tells me you probably should not buy it. So there you go. That's how that works. And if you don't know why, talk to a financial advisor and they'll explain it to you. Let's see. Dr. Mentz, love my Seiko. Seiko Sunday, GS is for suckers. Oh, there you go. GS is for people that want the best. Here's another. That GMT is fantastic. Now, I have to say, that GMT is a perfect example of what we're talking about. That could be the perfect watch, and I told Steve as much. I said, but they need to come up with a clasp that has easy micro adjustments. We need to have easy micro adjustments for the bracelet. It's not rocket science, folks. You shouldn't have to take the thing to the jeweler and have them mess around with it to size it when the season changes. Some of you all might not have big seasonal changes, but here in the winter, our wrists tend to contract, and so we might want to take a link out or half a link or whatever, or make a micro adjustment on a bracelet. On this GMT, you've got to have a really tiny screwdriver and really good eyes, and maybe you could resize it yourself. To me, that's a downside. I think that all watches should be easily resized. This one has 4 micro adjustments that I can easily adjust. So as far as having links taken out, that you should only have to do once. And then you can fine tune with the micro adjustments. And then of course I have the extension that you can extend on the fly. You all haven't seen it. This extension here, where I just extended it out, and it's like a one-way ratchet. You can push it back in, one click at a time, and get it exactly the way you want. That's for like short-term, temporary. You know, if you go out in the heat, real humid, and your wrist expands, you want to expand it just temporarily, you can do that. So this has fantastic adjustment capabilities, but as you can see, it's nowhere near flush to the wrist. It's not flush and trim to the wrist like this one. Whoops, like this one. Okay, so here we go again. We don't have the perfect solution. Rolex doesn't have the perfect solution. Grand Seiko doesn't have the perfect solution. Apple just might. They just might. So maybe these guys can learn something from them. Let's see. Watches of London currently considering a GMT. Well, there you go. I don't blame you. G-Town, California. People complain that you can't keep an Apple Watch for 10 years, but you don't see Rolex flippers. Don't do that either, G-Town. Well, here's the thing. If you think about it, my Apple Watch, this one I think is about 5 years old. This is a Series 1. So however long they've been out, that's how old this is. And it still works. It still works fine. But here's the thing. You could pretty much replace this every 5 years for the cost of servicing a Rolex. You could pretty much replace this, or close to it, right? So, yeah, just the servicing cost alone would probably replace this watch. Now, that's for those who get their watch serviced, every 5 or whatever years. I don't recommend that, as you guys know. I say go 20 years, right? But the bottom line is it's a relatively inexpensive watch as far as a semi-luxury watch or whatever you want to call it goes. I mean, it's relatively affordable. A lot more affordable than any Rolex. And you could take that money that you save on the Rolex and invest it, and that's going to double every 7 years. That would pay for your watch as you buy your new watches. Just the fact that your other money is working for you would pay for this watch. So there's that. People that aren't good at math, though, I think there's something about the public schools and math. I don't think they teach much of it anymore. Yes, and not a stamped clasp, Watches of London. Let me see what this is. Yeah, I don't know if this is stamped. I don't think it is. I'm not sure if that's milled or stamped. I can't really tell how they make these parts. Bottom line is it works. I mean, that and that's the other thing with everybody being like, oh my gosh, it's stamped. Hey, I wore Rolexes for many, many years with the stamped clasps, and they work fine. And they're actually a little more trim and a little more comfortable than the current ones they have now. So there are actually advantages to them. So, I mean, again, people make these comments, and they're not somebody that has worn one of these watches for many, many years and knows what it's like to really wear the watches. I come at it from a standpoint of actually wearing and using these watches. That's where my comments and my opinions come from, not from having it sit in a box somewhere. I have no experience with that, with box watches. I have experience with watches on wrist. So that's, or in rotation on wrist. Let's see. I love the idea of having a seriously upgraded bracelet for these watches. I have a feeling GS could nail it if they focused on it. Yeah, and please let them know. The more they hear, the more feedback they get, the more likely they'll put some manpower into this and solve this problem. I have the GS Diver among others, and it does have micro adjustments, but there are some sharp exposed edges when using it that way. See, I don't have any problem with anything sharp on my wrist. I don't understand. Maybe you've got something wrong with yours. Something's out of kilter or something. Mine is very comfortable on wrist. Never any sharp anything. And speaking of sharp things, my timeless razor, which is fantastic. And here's the thing. I've been using the Astra blades. And I don't know if anybody in here is double-edged shavers, but these were recommended in a lot of the forums that they're pretty good blades, the Astra blades. And I had been using the Vikings blades. And I'll tell you, it might be too early to tell because I've only used maybe a handful of these blades so far. But I think the Viking blades might be more comfortable, might have an edge over the Astra. Let me know what you all think. And also let me know how often you change your blades. I usually get maybe 4 shaves out of them to where I feel like they're starting to drag or whatever. Let me know what you guys do. That's kind of a little off topic, but and I still love this brush. This brush, let's see, Wild West Brushworks. Wild West Brushworks. This thing is doing fantastic, and no shedding. No shedding. Let's see here. I still prefer your 18 karat 9F over GS-GMT. That watch looks way more elegant than GMT. Well, the 18 karat gold dress watch was a stunner. I mean, absolutely was a stunner. The only thing about that didn't work well for me is the strap didn't center nicely, and that could have probably been fixed with another strap. But that was a very elegant, very nice dress watch. And when the fall comes around, when the cold weather comes around again, I'll probably miss it, to be honest with you, because that's when I would be wearing that. Wouldn't be wearing it in the summer. Would be wearing this in the summer. You're absolutely correct about micro adjustments on the 9F GMT. It's a big miss from GS. Even in the UK, I use my Rolex Easy Link most days in the summer. Yeah, Rick, please point that out to them. Contact Grand Seiko on the social media and so forth. Rattle their cage, folks. Let's make this a mission. Let's rattle their cage and get them to come out with some clasps. Even if they had 2 or 3 different options, it shouldn't be hard to switch out a clasp. This shouldn't be rocket science, folks. Now that we're talking about men on the moon and everything, right? 50 years later. Well, never thought of it that way. Not sure what that way we're thinking about. Craig, could you realistically see an Apple Watch in a Datejust 36 as a workable 2-watch rotation? I wore mine for 2 years in rotation with the date 8, generally speaking, this and the date 8. It's an extremely useful piece of kit, especially the exercise functionality to keep track of how far I walked every day and all that. It is very useful. The only reason probably that I'm not wearing this still is I really like my Grand Seikos, number one. And number two is when you tilt your wrist up to read the time, it comes on, but it doesn't stay on very long. It goes out relatively quickly. And you can't change that in the settings. You can change, like when you tap it, it comes on for a longer period of time. And you can change that in the settings, how long it stays on. But you still can't make it stay on for real long, right? I'd like a setting where the damn thing stays on for like 3 minutes. I don't care if it runs the battery down quicker. The battery on this thing is usually like 3/4 full at the end of the day anyway. I don't run it down. And I've got other watches I can switch it off if it runs down or something. I'd like more control over that. I'd like more control over that. How long it stays on. Just a little thing, but it just kind of bugged me. And the new ones are brighter, by the way. In this, I can still read. I can read it in daylight, out in sunlight, but it's real dim in sunlight. But the new ones, I understand, are brighter, even in sunlight. And this I can read without my reading glasses on. It's very readable. So that was a big plus. So it's a well-made, solid piece of kit. I mean, I have to tell you, it just is. And the new ones are supposedly even better. Okay, so the one advantage I see about stamped clasps is that they are generally thinner than milled clasps. That's right, they're thinner and lighter, and they're very easy to adjust. The tension on when you clip them shut, that's just, one of those swing arms. You just bend it very slightly, and you can adjust the tension on that very easily. And then if you have the flip lock bracelet, like a sub is going to have, or GMT, that just locks it. I mean, it doesn't come undone at all. Mine never came undone. I never had an issue with my GMT coming undone, or the sub, for that matter, coming undone. No issues whatsoever with that clasp. And they all had micro adjustments. So there's that. I think I've just got a sensitive wrist, okay? I used Astra blades, great performance for a cheap price, but pairing them with a good shaver is ideal. I get 4 shaves with 2-day stubble from each Astra. Okay, there you go. Do you have any experience with the Vikings blades? Because I don't care that these are a little more money. They're still real reasonable. If you think they're a better option, I might go back to them. Of course, I got a whole box of Astras to use up. Guess I'll start switching them every day and just try to go through them quicker. Gold stunners. Okay, Wolf Savory 5-piece watch box. The way you dress in winter, your 18 karat gold 9FGS was the perfect watch for you. I'm going to miss that look. Well, yeah, I mean, it was a nice, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get something else. We'll see. Stay tuned. Thoughts on the Grand Seiko SBGA 375. Let's check it. SBGA 375. Here's one for $42.50 on Chrono. Whoops, just knocked over my razor. Get that out of the way so I can. There's one. A spring drive, okay. So I think that model has a screw down crown. I would just make sure that it has a screw down crown. I mean, it's okay. It's got the same issues that a lot of them have. There's no loom. So if you don't mind not having loom. I don't know that that's the watch I would buy personally, but it's interesting. I think there are other options out there. Let's see what else we got going on here. I think that's the last comment. So you said have a good razor. I mean, I think this is a damn good razor. What do you think about the timeless razors? I mean, I don't think I have a shortcoming there. I think that's very precise. I think where it holds the blade in there is very precise. Let's see here. Needs to be 38 millimeter Lewis in the house. Well, I mean, it depends on what you want, on what you're looking for. I think a 38 for an all-arounder to double as a dress watch, like for example, this one is 39, I think, millimeters, and it's only 10 mils thick, so it can be worn in a dress type of situation. And the clasp is relatively low profile on that, but again, you don't have micro adjustments, so you're giving up. See, the beauty of this is you've got the low profile, you've got the ultra low profile, and you can very easily adjust it, remove a link and put a link in, right? It's not really a micro adjustment, but you can, just with your fingernail, you can remove a link and put a link in. And I only do that once a year, well, twice a year. I do it in the fall when the cold weather comes, I remove a link, and then when the hot weather comes, I add the link back in. That's the only adjustment I do on this, and it works out great for me. I don't need to do any other adjustments. Just the way it's designed and all, it just works. So, I'm thinking of selling some watches. Advice on how to do that. That is tricky. That is not easy to do. That's what a lot of people fail to take into consideration when they invest in a bunch of these watches. And then comes time to sell them, it's not that easy to do. And watch out for scammers out there. Watch out for people giving you fake money for it. Watch out for all kinds of scams that they'll try to pull. I would, first of all, let us know what you're selling in there. And I would probably try to go on to some of the forums and Facebook groups and things like that and see if you can find somebody that will buy it direct from you. I was fortunate enough when I sold my 18 karat gold stunner to have somebody that was a subscriber on the channel that went ahead and wired the money to me, and then I sent him the watch once the wire was confirmed and I had the money. So that went very smoothly. So, but it's tricky. I mean, that would be probably your best bet. And you, of course, you can sell it on eBay. If you do that, I would shoot a video of you boxing it up and closing the box, and I'd take a marker and put some lines across the tape and everything, and then I'd shoot another video clip of you handing it to the people at the post office, showing that those lines are all intact and that you handed it off. So I would do something to try to document that you actually put the watch in the box and actually shipped it, in case that guy claims on the other end that there was just a brick in the box, right? The people that do nefarious things. So just have your guard up, I think. Let's see. Hello, I'm here for watches. All right, watches. Well, there you go. There's a watch right there. How's that? That's a GMT with the 9F movement. And that puppy's just clicking right along. And this is my SBGA 231 diver, titanium Grand Seiko diver that is just insanely accurate and super comfortable on wrist. So there you got a couple of watches right there. And then of course, we've got the Apple Watch sitting right here. No slouch. It is no slouch. Let's see here. I use $12 Wishy razor, whatever. I'll probably go with the Mercure Futur next. Okay. Try the Philips one blade. Oh, so single-bladed razors, huh? Timeless is okay, but if you want the Rolex of razors, you just buy a Mercure Futur or Mercure 1904. Use feather blades. Does not get better than that. Yeah, I've heard feather, though, can be a little bit dicey. I'm a little bit scared of feather. What would be the GS of razors? I guess this is the GS of razors, because this is like higher quality. Right, so this is a step up. So if you want to go for higher quality, you go for timeless. Is that how that works? Let's see here. I don't think I want to step backwards to Rolex territory. We're moving forward here, folks. We already had the Rolex thing. For 40 years, I wore Rolexes. Not to say I might not at some point get another day date. That's always a possibility. I've had 4 or 5 of them, so it's always a possibility. Hope you get the watch that I have in my dress watch, SBGZ003. Okay, let's check that. Let's check that one. Dun, 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 dun. Wow, that's an expensive puppy. So here's the deal, though. A lot of those high-end Seiko dress watches do not have a screw-down crown. And for me, that's a no-fly zone. That, I'm just not going there. That's another one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I sold my 9F Stunner as well, my 18-karat gold Grand Seiko, because it didn't have a screw-down crown. And that always bugged me a little bit. Let's see. Thanks. I'll keep you appraised if when I put something up for sale. There you go. Enjoy your videos. First time catching your live feed. Harley B in the house. Yeah, the live feeds, this is our chance to just kind of interact with each other and bump thoughts around and so forth. The produced videos are more like my reviews and things like that. And I do a lot of product reviews. I've done a lot of reviews on audio equipment and camera gear and all kinds of stuff. So it's not just watches. Some guy made a comment on a video the other. This is a watch channel. Why are you talking about all that? I said, well, you didn't watch my introduction video on my channel. We're a lot more than just watches here, folks. There's a lot more to life than just watches. Watches are important, no, don't get me wrong, but there are other things So there's that. The one blade and like a mini trimmer. Okay. Feathers, shavers are the GS of shavers, Japanese. Yeah, I've heard those feather blades though are really sharp and you can kind of cut yourself. Oh, that's a little scary. I might try the feathers though. I might try them next. If I am not mistaken, all of my GSs have screw down crowns. I didn't realize some didn't. Yeah, a lot of the higher end ones that are all gold and or platinum, the dress watches and things, a lot of those don't have it. And then some of the lower end spring drive ones, some of the entry level ones, do not have a screw down crown. So yeah, no, it's not a given that they'll have that. Now that GS Stunner right there has a screw down crown. Absolutely has a screw down crown. So there's that. The Rolex Cellini might not be a full oyster case, but it still has a screw down crown. I'm not sure all of them do though. All of the Cellinis. You might want to double check that. Because I know back in the day they didn't all have it. Because I had a Cellini many years ago that didn't have one. But they might all have it now. I don't know. I got the Seiko Great Deep Blues from 2002. Just picked up my very first Grand Seiko SBGH267 High Beat LE with blue mosaic dial. Absolutely blown away by the finishing. Yeah, it's once you get a Grand Seiko, it's hard to look at some of the other stuff. Let me pull this one up. SBGH267. SBGH267. Pull this puppy up. It's interesting. They got one of them on Chrono 24. Oh no, maybe not. It looks like they don't. Look, maybe they had one and they sold it. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Okay, Hodinkee looks like has a write-up on it. Let me pull this up. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Stunning. I like that touch of gold on there. For me, I'm more a fan of the spring drive versus the high beat. But I mean, if you want a full mechanical situation, my guess is it's hard to beat a high beat. Hard to beat that puppy, if that's what you want. The handwound GS models don't. Yeah, and see, that makes sense because they're hand wound. You don't want to have to unscrew the crown every time you got to wind it up, right? That's kind of not good, right? So that makes sense. But some of their automatic watches also do not have screw down crowns. It's not just the manual ones. It's a lot of the dress watches. A lot of their really high-end gold or platinum ones do not have screw down crowns. I was surprised when I saw one at Steve's place. I saw one of the gold ones that was a spring drive. And, of course, it was automatic wine spring drive. And it did not have a screw down crown. What are your thoughts on the regular Seiko divers? Well, I had an SBDC 007. I had the Shogun. It's a fantastic timepiece. Super comfortable on wrist. It had the titanium. That one had the DiaShield coating. Extremely robust. Extremely scratch resistant. Even more scratch resistant than this titanium. And this is pretty damn scratch resistant. I have a couple of videos here on my channel on the Shogun. Do a search and you'll see what I have to say about it. I'll give you a hint. I'm very, very positive about it. It was a very nice watch. It ran slow. That's why I got rid of it. Other than that, I'd probably still have it. If it ran a little fast, I'd probably would have kept it. But it ran slow, and I can't abide a slow running watch. I don't like that. Sorry, Craig was off for a bit, tucking the kid to bed. I'll email you a photo of it. Okay. My email is my name at gmail.com. My name, CraigShipp at gmail.com. CraigShipp gmail.com. Okay, that's easy enough. So when we get that, we will show that puppy. Let's see here, I'm loading my email. Okay. And David Williams said he has to miss the live stream. He sent me an email. And he's somewhere out and about. He's somewhere in motion. And he's out on a Jeep run. And he's wearing his G-Shock for the heavy-duty use scenarios of Jeeping. And Randall says we're live. He sent me an email, so I'm still checking here for that email. Nothing yet. Okay, so Eric is going to send an email that we can take a look at, and then we're probably going to wrap this puppy up. We've once again solved all the first world's problems. Oh, by the way, speaking of first world, what the heck is going on with Bitcoin is pulling back again down towards $10,000. All right, here we go. We got two pictures here. Whoa, look at this beauty. Look at that stunner. And again, I mean, I've made no bones about I'm not a big fan of the super case, but I mean, you got to love a bluesy. You got to love a bluesy. So I could probably overlook the super case. But this is also another example where those center links are high polished. I think that's a fail. I think they should have gone with brushed on those center links, those gold center links. Just make them brushed. That way they're not going to show nearly as much. Not nearly as much in the way of scratches. But that, I mean, you got to give credit where credit due. That is a stunning timepiece. I mean, look at that. Look at that bezel. Look at the face on that, the dial on that thing. Look at the hands on it. I mean, that is freaking gorgeous. And it's thin enough. Well, it's not quite as thin as the GMT, but it's thin enough that you can probably push that into dress use situation if need be. I think you'd be better off with the GMT. The GMT is a little bit thinner, a little bit flatter on the wrist than that piece. And they've made the Submariner a little bit thicker over the years. It used to be right around 12 mils. I think it's 12.6 or more now. Can somebody let us know in the chat the exact thickness of that? Because I'm not 100% clear on that. But I know it's not 12 millimeters anymore, which back in the day it used to be. Back in the old days, it was pretty thin. But of course, they went to 1,000 foot, and that is an issue. But that's a stunner. I have to say. That is a stunner. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Got a couple more questions in here. I'm looking for the equivalent of an Oyster Perpetual 36, a 37, 38 millimeter spring drive with a screw down and loom. I guess I just have to be patient and keep waiting. There are some smaller spring drive units out there bumping around. I would also talk to Steve at Little Treasury Jewelers. Talk to Steve at Little Treasury Jewelers, and he'll give you the straight skinny on what may or may not be available and what he might be able to get his hands on. And just keep an eye out. Yeah, keep an eye out in the forums. Join some of the Grand Seiko clubs. Keep an eye out. You'd be surprised what you see bumping around. I'd love to know what timepieces you would recommend for a young woman in her 20s. Thank you. Sarah's in the house. I always gave my ladies a lady date, a Rolex lady date. Usually steel and gold was what I provided to them. But any older Rolex, all steel, I think it's a great ladies' watch, and I don't get the ladies wanting to wear the bigger watches these days. I don't think it looks elegant. I would not recommend you go anything more than 34 millimeters, but you could get like a 34 millimeter Oyster Perpetual if that's what you like. A lot of it's going to depend on what size your wrist is, how small your wrist is. But I think an older Rolex, you didn't say how much money you want to spend. That's a big factor, but you can buy an older used Rolex. You can get good deals. And by the way, Sarah, you can get really good deals on ladies' Grand Seikos with the 9F movement on eBay. Look for a really trusted seller with a lot of good reviews, and I would not hesitate to buy one on eBay, a Grand Seiko ladies' watch. And some of the men's watches, Grand Seikos, are kind of small, like 34 millimeters, that would make a fantastic ladies' watch, and they don't sell very well because all the men want bigger watches. So you might be able to get the sweet spot might be like a 34 millimeter Grand Seiko off of eBay. And some of them are steel and gold that are really elegant looking. So I would look at those, depending on your price range. I would look at a Rolex if you're willing to spend a little more money. If you want to spend less money, maybe let's say in the $800 range, something like that, you should be able to buy a nice Grand Seiko with the 9F movement in it off of eBay. That would be what I would look out for. Now, if you want to spend even less than that, you're probably going to have to go with a Seiko. I would talk to Steve at Little Treasury Jewelers. He has a big selection, and see what he recommends if you want to spend even less money for something. But those are some ideas I figured I'd just toss out there. Thoughts on an Apple Watch on right wrist and date on the left. I've never been a two-watch guy at one time, one on each wrist. I've never gone there. So I don't know. I don't know about that situation. And follow-up comment, nice two-tone bluesy. If I was stretching beyond 10 grand for a Submariner, then I'd pony up the extra cash and go for a bluesy. Yep. I would probably buy an older all gold one. All gold, pre-ceramic, and get away from the super case. That's probably what I would buy. It's so gorgeous. I do agree. The gold is so soft. Well, no, the gold isn't that soft. It's just when it's high polished like that, it's going to show any scratch. If you buy a Datejust with an oyster bracelet with the high polished center links in steel, they're going to scratch easily. They both scratch easily. You don't want to go high polished with that stuff. I mean, I don't know what Rolex is thinking. They're just trying to make it look good in brochures and in photos, but they're not thinking about people using the watch. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I just think that's a real mistake. That should have been brushed. It would look gorgeous brushed. It would be fine, no problem, and it would be more forgiving. I'm on late. Did Craig talk about two-tone bluesy GS spring drive? I haven't talked about that this show, but we did mention it in a previous show. I think it looks kind of cool. I think the watch looks kind of cool. It's got the gold, but it has the all steel bracelet, and some people have pissed and moaned about that it should have had gold in the bracelet, but I think it looks fine. I don't know that it would be what I would buy. I think I would just buy this. A lot more comfortable. The titanium just works, man. Just works. I think the gold helps with its wearability as a dress watch, but it is 40 millimeter. Yeah, but how thick is it? That's the key to whether or not it'll go underneath the dress cuff, is also how thick it is. Nice photos of that watch also. Yeah, they were good photos. I tried the Apple Watch on right wrist, regular watch on the left. It was okay, but in the end I stopped. Also, many people thought it looked odd. I'm sure they would. GS SPGA 283 is the closest spring drive Datejust equivalent you're going to get, 39 millimeter. Okay, so 39 mils. Yeah, that's not a bad size. This is what this one is. That's 39 mils. And it's very comfortable on wrist. 12 mils thick. So I would highly recommend something like that. Let's see here. I hear Archie needs more money. He wants his five Patek. Life is very hard, he says. Okay. Sarah, is your in a tighter budget, then you can go with a Tissot, okay? Stretch to Rolex and a date 34, date just 34 or 34, and 36 Oyster Perpetuals are great. I already own a Rolex Oyster Perpetual in gold steel, so I'll be sure to check out the Grand Seiko. Well, Sarah, wear the Rolex. You don't need to buy another Rolex, another watch. You don't need to be like all these collectors. You don't need to have a bunch of watches. Wear the Rolex and enjoy it, young lady. And here's the thing. Don't baby it. I mean, wear it. You know, the easiest way to lose a Rolex is to take it off your wrist and put it somewhere. Take it off your wrist and put it somewhere safe. That's the easy way to lose a Rolex. So keep it on your wrist. Doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're out in the backyard working in the garden. Wear your Rolex. It can handle it. Not a problem. Absolutely. Wear it and enjoy it. But I will warn you, if you get a Grand Seiko, you're going to get kind of spoiled. That's how that works. Beautiful bluesy. Congratulations, Eric. Well, yeah. You got a hell of a watch, Eric. Yeah, he did. The thickness of the watch is 13 mils. See, that would be the issue for using for dress purposes. For me, 13 mils would be too thick. It wouldn't work with a lot of my shirts. Now, some people don't have insane forearms to where, my shirt cuffs are relatively tight. If you don't have that issue, I noticed Steve on his shirts, he's got a lot more room in his shirt sleeves than I do. So it depends on your neck size versus your arm size and off the rack shirts, right? Now, if you have them custom made, you can work around that situation, but everybody's different. But for me, the 13 mils would not work. This watch here, which is 12 and 39 mils by 12, it works fine. It's no problem, but you add that extra millimeter, and trust me, it makes a difference. This one's 14 millimeters, and no way I can wear this underneath my dress cuffs. It looks terrible. I've seen plenty of women wearing 36 millimeter Datejust. It's a great unisex watch. Yeah, absolutely. But if you have a really petite wrist, I think that would be pushing it. You probably want to go 34, but it depends on the size of the wrist. Submariner's 13 mils are wags back in the house. Yeah, I remember back in the day when they were closer to 12. Back in the good old days. They've put on weight like everybody else in the United States of America. 2/3 of Americans are obese these days. It's a really sad situation. Watches are cool, though. I do wear it often, but variety is the spice of life. Sarah in the house, first world problems. Get yourself a Grand Seiko then. I think it'd be a good thing to mix up with it. And here's the thing. If you get something with the 9F, now all of a sudden you'll have a watch that's super accurate and that you can grab and go anytime, and you know it's going to be spot on accurate, and you don't have to worry about it stopping if you don't wear it for a few days, right? The Rolex, if you don't wear it for a few days, it's going to stop, right? So it's nice to have in the mix a 9F because you don't have to worry about that issue. You can just grab it and go, and you know it's going to be spot on accurate, and it's going to look really nice too. Let's try to pull one up. Let's try to pull one up and take a look here. I'm going to eBay, and I'm just going to search Grand Seiko. 9F. That's all I'm going to do is search that. Now here's one right away. Here's a 2016 Grand Seiko, and it's $1,255. It looks like all the box and papers. Let's just pull this up and look and see what we've got here. They're calling it a man's watch, but it looks like it might be kind of petite. Let's just look and see, just for fun, if they say what size it is. 37 mils. So that one's 37 mils. Okay, let's keep going. Let's try to find one kind of cool looking. There's mine right there. Okay, let's keep going. I will tell you the prices have gone up since I've been talking about 9F movements. I hate to tell you that. I've bumped the price a little bit here. Okay, here's another one for $1,300. Let's keep going. So we can find. Now here's one with some gold on it for $1,375. Oh, it's a day date too, in English. Let's pull that up. Let's see what's going on here. Let's take a look here, Sarah. And I like those little scratches on it. That doesn't bother me, that little patina. The dial looks good. And I'm sure this will not have a screw-down crown. Be my guess. Oh, it's got the rice bracelet. I like that. Oh, that's cool. I kind of like that. Okay, let's see what size that puppy is. See, this is just a couple of quick examples how quick you can find these puppies. And again, I would research the guy's record and all that. What's the size? 36 mil. 36 mil. So it's going to look nice, because their 36s look even a little more petite than a Rolex 36. I would consider that. I would consider something like that. I think that'd be fun. Fun. Let's see. Let's see. I got some questions to Sarah. What color is the dial? And watches are cool, though. May I ask your wrist size? I don't know if you're asking Sarah's wrist size, SBGA 229. That's a big watch for anybody. That's the same size as this watch. My wrist is 7.25 inches, just as a reference. Between 7.25 and 7.5, depending on how hot and humid it is outside. Do you still have Air King 2, Eric? Okay. Yes, I do. Okay, champagne, I'd say. That's nice. That's a very versatile color for a dial. I don't forget much. That's good and bad. Okay. Go for a blue dial 9F Grand Seiko. Blue says, hello, Craig. Hi to R Wags. There we go. A lot of little exchanging greetings. Craig, any recommendations on where to get high-end men's clothes and shoes for a tiny person like me? Everything that fits me is terrible quality, intended for kids. Noel. Just all I can say is figure out really what size you wear. I don't know if you can wear an off-the-rack size, like a size 38 suit or something. I don't know what your size is, size 36, whatever. But if you can wear an off-the-rack in a certain size, then what I would do is I would do some saved searches on eBay, search for different brand names that are high-end, and I'm assuming you're in the U.S., maybe you're not, but let's assume you're in the U.S., I'd try to get some USA-made stuff. I have a bunch of brand names on my, if you go to my Flickr and search for Oxford, for example, you'll find a whole photo set of clothes that are different brands, Hickey Freeman, H. Freeman and Sons, Hart, Schaffner and Marks, a whole bunch of different brand names that you could do searches on eBay. You search, for example, Hart, Schaffner and Marks, size 34 regular, and I would put USA after that. Then make sure you get the ones that are made in the USA, assuming you're here in the USA. You're going to get the best quality that way, right? So I would do some targeted searches on eBay, and then once you do that search, there's a little thing you can click and you can save the search. And then eBay will send you an email if something is listed that matches that criteria. And then you can snag it if it's a good price. Sometimes people are better off buying a sport coat and then getting a great pair of slacks to go with it. I highly recommend Bill's Khakis. Bill's Khakis, they're made in USA. Again, you can buy them at decent prices on eBay in mint condition. Again, you would save the search with your size. Let's say it's size 30 waist by 28 length. Do 30 times 28, Bill's Khakis, USA, and then save that search. And then you'll get a tickler, you'll get an email when something comes in matching that search. And if it is what it is and it seems really good, grab it. That would be my recommendation on all of that. What's your email? It's my name at gmail.com. My name at gmail.com. CraigShipp@gmail.com. Earlier, Craig said his email, his name at Gmail. There you go. The rice bracelet is very comfortable. Absolutely, and it looks great. Craig, do you ever notice that those pre-made salads always skimp out on the croutons? I don't buy pre-made salads, but I can imagine. I can imagine they would. All right, thank you for the recommendations. My wrist is definitely more on the petite side, so I think I may need to go smaller. Yeah, I would look, because you're going to find some 34 or 35 millimeter Grand Seikos on eBay. You're going to find them at good prices because a lot of people don't want to buy the smaller ones, right? So, and like this one I just showed you here, I mean, that's going to be a fairly trim watch, fairly thin, I think that would work nice even on a pretty small wrist. But you can get them even smaller than that one if you look around, and you're going to get a good deal on something like that. You're at a buyer, you have a buyer's advantage because a lot of people want the bigger watches, so that's an advantage to you. Thoughts on SBGV027. All right, we'll check this, and then I'm going to call it a day. 027. Oh, is that the brown? Shoot, let me try to pull up a decent image of it here. Here's one on eBay, it looks like. Maybe. Let's see if it's on here. Well, no, that's not a good picture either. I hate when they have, like, terrible pictures. Oh, Little Treasury. They had a page for one. Let's see. Well, even their picture isn't any good, I have to say. But yeah, it's the one with the brown dot. Maybe I can find a better picture. This is insane. I hate the way people just put lousy images up. This one might be about the best. Let's see here if I can pull this up. I'll switch to it if I can find it. All right, there's a halfway decent picture. That's about the best picture I can find of the watch. It looks good. It looks good. I mean, it's, again, it doesn't have any lume, so yeah, if that's what you want, it looks good to me. Thanks for the info. Okay, great live stream. Thanks, Lewis. Okay, well, thank you all, and be sure to click the subscribe and click the little bell. Click the little bell. I'm going to refresh the chat here, make sure I haven't missed anything, and then we're going to wrap this puppy up. I mean, once again, we've solved all the world's problems, especially the first world problems. And that's how that works. So let's see here. I'm going to stop this live stream, and you guys are all going to have a great remainder of your Sunday. Thanks for watching, everybody.